Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Nation. This is Defending the Boys. I am your host, D. Will. And, recently Dak had something to say about George Pickens, and I want to talk about it. So we're going to talk about it right now.
They are an accident waiting to happen. Stephen A, hush your mouth, talking all that noise. You can hate all you want, but we still them boys. Dirty, dirty D, Texas where we stay at. Being inside in order till you know that's where we play at. Hey, this year, this the payback. Yeah, we them Cowboys, and now we don't play that. Work. This is Cowboy Nation. Work. Welcome to Cowboy Nation. Work. Y'all can keep on hating. Work.
That's right, Cowboys Nation. You can keep on hating if you want to, but this is Defending the Boys. Again, I am your host, D. Will, and like I mentioned before, I was listening to 105.3, and actually the interview came from DLLS, but I was listening to 105.3, and the clip that I got is from 105.3. And it was about Dak Prescott and kind of how he felt about the George Pickens situation. And I wanted to talk to you about kind of the underlying meaning of what he said, kind of what I think about it and what I've heard about it, and kind of see where we were, what we come up with. So here we go. We're going to talk just a little bit with that. Well, I'm not talking to Dak Prescott, but here's what he had to say.
He thinks there's a little bit of a difference with Dak speaking about keeping Micah versus Dak speaking about keeping Pickens with Chill.
We know we got to get that side of the ball right, but we got to make sure that we aren't complacent with what we've done on our side of the ball. We've got to get one of our guys signed and make sure that we take a big step on offense as well.
You said getting one of your guys signed.
Yeah.
Which one are you talking about?
Yeah, the guy out here. The guy out here that doesn't have a contract, no matter in whichever way that they got to do it, he's an important piece of this offense, important piece of what we're trying to do. And so leave it to those guys. Obviously, if I need to get involved, I've said it before, I will. But confident in Jerry and everybody who makes those decisions and how much he means to us.
So there it is. There it is. That is Dak Prescott saying, hey, listen, we got to get this done. This isn't a maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't situation. This is a yes, we're going to get George Pickens done. And if I have to get involved, then I'll get involved. Now, I would love to believe that means that push comes to shove, Dak is going to walk into Jerry's office and say, hey, look, I ain't playing if you don't sign him. I just don't think that's what it means. I don't think it's one of those situations where Dak is like, hey, get this done or else. I didn't take that as an ultimatum. When he said, if I have to step in, my first thought was like, yeah, go ahead and step in and make sure they get this thing done. But I honestly think what he's saying is, hey, if I have to take a reduction and a restructure, rather, of my contract, then I will. I'll restructure my contract. Now, one of the very first things we said when we got into our offseason, I know technically offseason isn't really until after the Super Bowl when the official end of the year is, but the Cowboys have been in offseason for a few weeks now, right? So we didn't make it to the playoffs. And with that, I had a message, and one of the first things on that show that I came up with was Dak Prescott is going to need to restructure his contract because we don't currently have enough money in our in our salary cap, right? And we need to be able to come up with salary cap money. And the easiest way for us to come up with salary cap money is for Dak Prescott to step up and restructure his contract. He can free up a lot of money. And even though it might hurt later and push it back and all this other kind of stuff, if we're really talking about the right now type of situations, I don't see what's wrong with that situation and ensuring that we are able to keep George Pickens. Dak Prescott is saying, hey, if I need to step in and make sure that there's enough money there by taking it away from mine as far as what the salary cap hit is, then I'm willing to do that. And that's what I feel like he means by if I have to step in, I will. Now, again, don't get salary cap confused with how much money Dak Prescott is taking home. We're talking about a salary cap hit and him saying that, hey, I'm willing to readjust how I get paid, but he's still going to make his money. Let's not make any quorums about that. I'm not saying Dak is saying he'll play for less. He's just simply saying, hey, if I need to do some things, I really want to see this happening. And they understand that defense is going to need to be taken care of. And that's going to mean, obviously, that there's some things that needs to be done in the offseason, whether that is through through free agency, or that's through the draft. We know that there's certain things or a lot of things, not certain things, but there are a lot of things that are going to have to be done in order for our defense to be better. But again, I don't believe that means we have to bring in 11 new guys. I'm not a firm believer that our defense needs 11 new guys in order to be able to be successful. And as a matter of fact, I would say that, the 3 defensive linemen, probably at least, with Jadeveon Clowney off in there and a couple of other guys that we can make work. I think that Siobhan Ravel, once he gets with a decent coaching staff that can really put together a good, a good plan for the defense, rather than whatever it was that we were doing last year under Flus that was really upsetting players, right? I think that we'll be okay with Bland, who will be healthy. Everything right now is saying he's going to be healthy going into our training camp. Revel didn't get he didn't get training camp last year. He was there, but he didn't actually get to play through it in the preseason and really get an understanding. And with a new defense, he's going to need that. And I think that he's going to play better. I think, and I'm not saying from a starting position standpoint at all, but I think Reddy Stewart is going to be a much better player under the new guideline, the new system that our defense is going to be running this year. I think that he'll be a much better player. I think that you would probably have seen better play out of Donovan Wilson, although I don't think he'll be back on the team, as well as Malik Hooker, who I do feel like will be on the team, Wanye Thomas, who I do still feel like will be on the team. Linebacker is big. Obviously edge is big. You need another cornerback, because I talked about 2, but I definitely didn't talk about who that nickel corner is going to be. Now, I will say that if you really look at kind of the new stream of, what defenses are doing, sometimes that safety is the guy that has to come in, and it's not necessarily a nickel corner, right? And so, and the thought process is when you have your safety that can do both, safeties are better stepping up and hitting, covering guys, but then stepping up and hitting for the run game than a cornerback is. The safety is typically somebody who's willing to make that tackle, where a lot of your cornerbacks are making business decisions. So there's a possibility that if you draft the right guy, if that's Caleb Downs or, something like that, then maybe he does come down in the nickel. Maybe you play 3 safeties instead of 3 corners. There's all kinds of different things, and I don't know exactly which way we're going to go. And I guess we'll figure that out as we get into our off-season stuff. So when they start really looking at who they can pick up, what kind of safeties possibly do what they'd be looking at in free agency and different stuff like that, I think that's when we'll know. My problem with Donovan Wilson is all financial, right? So I feel like you can get somebody just as good for a lot cheaper. I'm not saying he hadn't earned what he had. I just don't think the Cowboys are going to be able to pay it this year. And so, I'm hoping my homie can go out and get to that bag, somewhere, and still come back in and party with the people in Dallas. But I don't expect for him to actually be back, because I feel like from a financial standpoint, we're going to have to let him go so that we can bring in somebody. And again, I believe that we can find somebody as good, in that position, whether that be draft or free agency, that we can get for a little less money than what he's going to ask for. So, Yeah, I don't think that the defense is going to be as crazy as some people make it out to be. But specifically when we're talking about the offense, I think they're going to make it a priority to ensure that they get George Pickens. And we saw a situation last year where we waited to the end and Micah Parsons was gone, right? And there was a lot of posturing and a lot of different things going on. I'm waiting to see where we really are with that. I don't have an issue. I'm a negotiator by trade. I do not have an issue with them not speaking to them yet. That's still posturing. Jerry Jones is a negotiator. He's going to posture. Negotiations make people uneasy. It makes people uneasy. Nobody wants to do it. As a matter of fact, a lot of times when you're with somebody who starts to negotiate for something, you go to a car dealership and you think, oh, that's probably a decent deal. The man said that was the best deal he can get. But then the guy next to you is like, nope, I need it for even cheaper. And you start to cringe a little bit. I mean, that is a natural feeling if you're not a negotiator. And that's typically what happens when Jerry Jones starts to negotiate. Everybody starts to cringe and talk bad about him. Unfortunately, that's his style of negotiation. That's what's worked for him. Say what you want to about Jerry Jones, but you know, there are a lot of players who we were able to negotiate and get back in, and we got him in beforehand. The Dak Prescotts and the CeeDee Lambs and the Emmitt Smiths of the world, even though he missed a couple of games and whatever it actually took to get, you know, the person on the team at the rate that Jerry wanted to actually get him paid, he was able to get it done. It's just unfortunately for the Micah Parsons, he wasn't. That's the last thing that we remember. That makes us a little uneasy. I don't have a reason right now to say get uneasy. I told you guys last year for the Micah Parsons because I was watching it and I said, I don't think it's, you know, everybody else was saying to you, hey, it's going to be all right. He's going to be here before. And I kept saying, I don't know. And sure enough, it is exactly what I saw. I could see that with my own eyes. And I'm not saying that that's where we are right now. I'm still in the position to where it's okay that he hadn't talked to him yet. He can't sign him yet. So what's the point of talking to him yet? And, you know, I'm not going to show my hand. I'm not going to just be eager to, I'm going to call you on the first day so I can show you how eager I am to have you, whether you think that they know it or not. You know, oh, he already knows that. I don't care what you think he knows. I'm not that guy. And he knows that I will. Matter of fact, what he knows is if you can't work out a deal, then yeah, we'll work out this trade and you can go somewhere else and you can go be unhappy like Micah Parsons is unhappy right now. And that is something that the player knows, and that's something that the agent knows. And Jerry Jones is going to take advantage of that. So again, I know it's not anything that people want to hear, but it's not such a bad thing not calling and signing George Pickens on the first day. I'm sure I won't get anybody watching this video for that very reason. Everybody's going to say that I'm crazy, but I'm just telling you from a negotiator, that's not the worst situation. Talk to another negotiator and they'll tell you, like, you don't want to be the guy that's so eager to let's just get this done and get this done now, because then you're really throwing away all your money. I mean, he is doing things that the way that he needs to negotiate for his money. So that's what Jerry Jones is going to do. I'm not against it yet. I'm not the biggest of Jerry Jones is always right guy, but I will say from a negotiation standpoint, it's not a bad thing that he hasn't already got George Pickens people on the phone. Well, that's pretty much all I got for you guys today, man. This is Defending the Boys. I am your boy D Will. I'm gonna holler at you. I'm out.